Welcome to AIADA's AutoTalk. I am Dan Barson, your host for today's program. We are really excited to welcome Kelly McNerney, Senior Automotive Strategies, Automotive Retail Division of Google. Kelly is located in Los Angeles and had to get up early to join us this morning. I know she's got the coffee going. Good morning, Kelly, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for having me. And yeah, as discussed, I am not usually an early riser, but it feels good to be up with the sun. So I know I'll get no sympathy from people who've worked in car dealerships their whole life. So that's the end of that sad story.
Well, welcome,
right,
Kelly.
well,
we're glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. So to all of you who have joined us this morning, thank you so much for having me. It's always an honor to be part of anything AIADA, especially this webinar series. And today I'm going to give you a little overview of some latest customer behavior from Google. Now, I just have 3 key points here. I know you guys have access to a lot of research and the same news articles that we do, but I have 3 interesting pieces of data that I think we should talk about. Then the Google Dealer Guidebook, which you may or may not have seen before, which is a playbook on exactly how Google thinks that a dealership can best take advantage of the internet and all of the power that it offers. And then finally, I'm going to give you some very tactical solutions on how to identify vehicle shoppers in your market. So hopefully some of this is new information for you and also very clear takeaways. You jot this down, call your agency or whoever's running your digital marketing and start making some changes today. Now, first piece of data that I'm showing is potentially something that you have seen before, but it is a strong correlation between Google new car searches and the U.S. new vehicle SAR. So this data goes back to 2010, and you can see that the SAR and Google search interest are strongly correlated. It's actually a correlation coefficient of 0.82 on a scale of 0 to 1. So the reason I bring this up is that Google search interest isn't just about, can I get to the top of the page, can I be in the #1 position, can I get the clicks? Google search interest for the automotive industry is also a really strong predictor of how the industry is going to change. And this goes down to the model level as well. So when we see searches for sedans start to plummet, we see sedan sales also start to plummet. Conversely, when trucks and CUV searches spike, we see sales for those models spike. And the reason is Google search is the best indicator of someone's intent in the world. So this data is used by the CDC to diagnose or find possible virus outbreaks. So if everybody in Los Angeles, California is suddenly searching for some very strange medical terms, we know that there's something very strange going on in Los Angeles, a possible virus or outbreak. Similarly, less dramatically, Hollywood uses Google search interest to predict box office openings. So if nobody's searching for solo tickets, solo trailer, solo showtime, probably nobody's going to go see the movie Solo. So I bring that up because Google search interest is a really strong indicator of the health of the industry and also the direction that sales are about to take. The second important piece of data I want to share is sometimes the most difficult to grasp and most difficult to really believe because we love our lead forms. And sometimes in the automotive industry, we think that's the best indication of a potential customer. But in fact, we did a 6-month-long, very extensive research study called the Auto Path to Purchase, which we will share with you all when the fresh one comes out. And we found that 74% of people who purchased a vehicle in the past 6 months, well, they just never submitted an online lead form. So we still put a ton of value on that lead form submission, but I'm going to give you some examples today on other things to measure when we know that 3/4 of our shoppers never submitted that form. And then the final piece of Google data I'm going to share is all about mobile. So on a mobile device, speed and simplicity are the 2 most effective tools you have. So when you think about your mobile website and all of the different features you have there, chat boxes and homepage carousels and drop downs, just keep in mind that on a mobile phone, speed and simplicity matter the most. For example, you see there on the left that 53% of customers will leave your website if it takes longer than 3 seconds to load. That's not a lot of time, but when you try it yourself, if you're staring at your phone and it's 6 inches from your face and it doesn't do anything for 3 seconds, you start to question if something's wrong, or maybe you curse your provider. But it's a high bar and a low amount of load time, and we need to get as close to that number as we possibly can. And then second, back to that dreaded lead form, 97% of consumers will just abandon a mobile site altogether if there are too many fields to fill in on a form. For example, we see great abuses of this across the industry when it comes to service schedulers. Now, the reason this mobile speed and simplicity is so important is that now over 70% of automotive searches are coming from a mobile device, which means you should be at the point now where definitely more than half, maybe even 3/4 of your dealership website traffic is coming from cell phones. So when you know that the majority of your customers are experiencing your website from a mobile device, it becomes really important to make that mobile website the most beautiful representation of your brand that it can be. Now, last year, Google launched something called the Google Dealer Guidebook. Actually, it was called the Google Dealer Playbook, and then we got a cease and desist because apparently that was trademarked. So I digress. The Dealer Guidebook is what it is now called, and the Google Dealer Guidebook is basically 4 pillars that help each individual dealership in the country make small incremental changes for the speed and size of their business. What I mean by that is if we take a look at these 4 pillars in front of you, each dealer in the U.S. will fall into one of these buckets. Maybe it took you a little while to get acclimated to digital marketing and digital platforms, so you might be struggling with those fundamentals. Whereas there are other dealerships who have been doing digital and have fantastic digital teams and digital agencies, and they're leaning heavily into digital, and they might be in that green or yellow bucket. So what that means is on the screen here, we have divided our to-do checklist by those 4 pillars. The very first thing you see here referenced again, the absolute first thing that we think a dealership should do is focus on that website experience, and again, those 2 really important factors of speed and simplicity. So we won't go through this entire checklist now, but I do want to make sure that you know that this exists and that you now have access to it. Dan, as Dan mentioned, he's going to share this with all of you. So you will have access to this checklist, and what we normally recommend for the management team, the marketing team at a dealership is to print this off, stick it somewhere on a wall or a desk, and just check off those boxes one by one as you continue to move your business from fundamentals all the way over to future growth. We built this playbook because we got a lot of feedback from dealers that was just help us, tell us what to do. You're Google, we know we need you. We know 66% of our website traffic comes directly from Google, but we're just not experts. We just don't know what to do next. So we said, oh, we got you. Here you go. Here's a checklist. Now, a main part of that checklist is the visual you're looking at now, and it's called Google's Automotive Micro Moments. Similar to how every dealer falls into one of those 4 pillars, every customer falls into one of these 5 buckets at any given time during their shopping process. And what I mean by that is that we used to think of these as awareness, consideration, and purchase intent or ready to buy. At Google, we've realized that that process isn't as linear anymore, is it? Like the average customer is doing 17 hours of research today before they purchase a new vehicle. It's a little bit shorter for used or certified pre-owned vehicles. It's much, much shorter for parts and service, but still 17 hours for a new car purchase is an insane amount of time to be researching something. It's actually the third most researched activity or event in a person's life. It's third behind buying a new home and planning a wedding. It is ahead of picking a college or university and researching a major medical procedure. So the shopping journey, the research journey for new car shoppers is a really, really important and long, 17 hours long research process. But during that process, an average customer is asking themselves these 5 questions. Which car is best for me? That's someone who's just now trying to figure out the make, the model, even the segment of vehicle that's right for them. And then they move into that, is it right for me moments. Those are more specs-related searches. Those are people who are starting to narrow down a list, and then they're comparing things like MPG, third row seating, towing capacity, something that's going to match the lifestyle that they're looking for. Those last three buckets, the yellow, the green, and the gray, this is what we call dealer territory. This is your turf. These are the searchers and the customers doing the searches that you should own. So when you think about your Google search investment, and maybe you're at the point where you're saying, I could spend more, I just don't know where to spend it. Or on the other side, you're saying, I can't spend another dollar, but I need more results from my advertising. This is where you will get those results. Now, the reason that we focus dealers on these three ready-to-buy buckets and the keywords that go with them is because these are the shoppers who are now ready to interact with the dealership and not the Tier 1 website or the Tier 2 special offers page, but they're ready to get actual pricing, availability, inventory, offers, information directly from a dealership. You're the only one that can sell them the vehicle, so this is the information that they need from you. So again, when you think about, I have more investment to spend, I just don't know where to spend it, or I can't spend another dollar, I need to make the dollars I have work better for me, you will get those better results in these ready-to-buy keywords. And now we've analyzed thousands of dealer campaigns, and we see that the conversions are highest and the costs are lowest in these three buckets for a dealership. It may not be true for Tier 1, but for dealerships, conversions are higher and costs are lower in those three buckets. And now after you have put all of your resources investment towards those perfect buckets, the tendency that we still have in this industry goes back to that second stat I showed about the lead form submission. So a lot of times we spend a lot of energy and resources on marketing, and then we still say, where are my lead forms? Well, when only 26% of people actually fill those darn things out, we need to start looking at additional metrics as a better indication of the success of our advertising or the success of just our website as a whole. So the additional metrics that Google recommends are those you see listed on the screen in front of you. Phone calls, obviously critically important. And now we know a lot of you have an issue with phone calls of, I have my phone number on Google My Business listing and in my ad, and I'm paying for these phone calls, and some of them are for the service department and some of them are for sales. Some of them are just calling to get my store hours, and I'm paying for that phone call. And we understand that's a pain point for dealerships as it pertains to phone calls, but we also maintain that you'd rather have them calling you for your store hours as opposed to the dealership across town. So we can work together to figure out how to optimize your phone call tracking and your phone call advertising, but obviously a really, really important metric from your advertising. How many phone calls are you getting? Similar with chat or text messages. And then VDP page views. I work with a major automotive group who told me that they have now shifted almost all of their advertising with VDP page views as the single most important metric, because for their business in particular, they have found that someone who gets to the VDP is far more likely to end up as a purchaser, so that they result in a sale, more than any other area of the website. So you'll decide for your business if that's true or not, but VDP views is obviously a really important metric. Once someone gets to that page, that's a really valuable customer. Time on site, contact us, and dealership locator or get directions are also additional metrics that we think are far more valuable than that disappearing lead form submission. And the ultimate holy grail, and something that I'm excited to announce, Dan and Rachel will make a little announcement to AIADA here, that store visits data is going to be available to all dealerships in the U.S. starting in Q4 of this year. Now, if you've never heard of store visits before, I'll explain to you how this works. A user is at home, at work, wherever they are, and they come to Google and do a search. Now, as you guys know, it's no surprise that Google has a ton of data on our users, and we have more signed-in users than you may think, too. So Gmail requires users to be signed in. Most viewers are signed in when they get to YouTube. Even on Chrome, a lot of users are signed in. So we have signed-in users, and they've all opted into location history, because anybody who's using a phone for anything valuable knows that you need to have your location turned on for things like Google Maps and Waze, and Yelp and OpenTable and a lot of apps that require your location. Now, when someone does a Google search and then clicks on the ad, that information is recorded by Google. If that person with their GPS and Wi-Fi enabled and their location history on walks into your store, and again, we know the location of your store because of your Google My Business listing, we can now match back someone who clicked on your paid ad and then stepped inside of your dealership. It's called store visits, and it reports to you how many physical visits you got from customers who clicked on your paid Google advertising. It's pretty awesome. It's very futuristic and has the potential to be very scary, but we are never going to give you that person's name. We're never going to give you their email address or their phone number. We're solely going to say your Toyota Camry campaign resulted in 400 visits to your dealership in the first quarter of this year. So you won't get personally identifying information from Google. No, that is a no-no. We do not want to be testifying in front of Congress. Thank you very much. So that's the sort of aggregated data that you'll get from us. Now, there's very specific and brilliant ways for you to identify shoppers using Google's tools, and I'm gonna share with you what those are. First and foremost, people who are closest to your dealership, and you may be saying, oh, Kelly, duh, why'd you get up this early in the morning to tell me that people closer to my dealership are more valuable than those farther away? But you would be surprised how many campaigns we see that do not actually show any indication of this thought, or this belief system. So what we recommend at Google is that you actually bid higher, what we call using a mobile bid modifier, on anyone who is within a certain mile radius of your store. And the reason I'm saying certain mile radius and not giving it to you exactly is that that radius will be drastically different here in my home of Los Angeles than it would be in Missoula, Montana, for example. So we don't necessarily set a specific mile radius. It depends on a lot of factors. How many of your same make dealerships are within a radius? Where are your customers coming from? So often when dealerships ask me, what is my target market? Where are my customers coming from? I do that annoying thing that your grade school teachers used to do and answer a question with a question, which is, well, you tell me, where are your customers coming from? Because you know in CRM data, you have their address, their phone number, their credit score, you know everything about your customers. So what zip codes are they coming from? And those are the zip codes that you should target. So in general, before you get to that point, we say you bid higher on people who are in a small radius of your dealership, and then it's sort of a bullseye approach. The people who are in that second tier are still important, so maybe you want to bid 30% higher. People farther away, maybe just 15% higher, and then outside of that, you don't increase your bids at all. Everybody outside of your target radius, but still in your market, no additional value placed on them. So that's finding prospects. In the upper right here, you'll see for the next few slides, I have flagged whether this marketing approach is aimed at prospects, your already interactive users, or your actual customers. So this is one to get prospects to your store. The second one, and maybe my personal favorite, is in-market audiences for search. So you probably know by now that on display advertising, on Facebook advertising, there's a lot of in-market targeting, right? You don't just launch a campaign into the wild. You say that you want people who are interested in a car, people who have shown propensity to buy a car. Well, the same is now true for Google search, which means we're not just showing your search ad based on keywords only. We're actually going to show your search ad based on someone's user behavior, and if they've been researching a vehicle, the websites they've been visiting go into consideration. You can see at the bottom there a list of automotive and vehicle actions, not necessarily actions, but topics that the customer might be interested in. So for example, if someone's searching for a car dealership, they're searching for car insurance, they're searching for a car seat, they're sending a lot of signals to Google that they're interested in a new car. So they get put into our in-market for autos and vehicles bucket. The difference between Google's in-market audiences and about everybody else who's doing this is that ours is in real time. So when you buy, in-market audiences from a third party, usually those lists are 30 to 60 days old, because that's what that company is capable of. The problem with that is that we have new research that shows that the average shopper is only in market for 30 days. So if you're getting a 30-day-old list, that person's probably already bought a car. So in-market audiences from Google are totally fresh, so that's why we recommend those. And then for interactive users, it's time for you to look at all of the various sections of your website and decide which audiences are the most valuable. How valuable is all of the visitors to your website over the past couple of years? To the far end of the spectrum, someone who has seen a VDP in the last 30 days is potentially far more valuable than someone who's never been to your website at all. So we have a way for you to segment those users. On the left is something called remarketing, and on the right, something called customer match, and I'll get into those right now. Remarketing lists for search ads works just like this. I have visited Paragon Direct, it's a Honda store up in New York. I visited that website, and then I came back to Google search, and if you can see there on the top, I typed Ford Fusion. Now, if you're Paragon Honda, if you're Brian Benstock at that store, and you realize that someone has just been to your website and now they're searching for a Ford, that's someone that you want to talk to and say, wait, come back, let us show you all of our inventory. That's better than Ford. So remarketing lists for search ads allows a dealership to put their ad front and center for people who have already been to their website. Now, normally we would never suggest that Brian Benstock buy the word Ford Fusion. It doesn't make any sense. He's not relevant. He doesn't have any Fords. He sells Honda. But with remarketing lists for search ads, it means, yes, this person is searching for Ford Fusion, but they were at your website yesterday. So that's a really important customer for you. That product is called remarketing list for search ads. And second is a product called Customer Match. This takes your list of customers, so you see it in the upper right, this is your customer strategy, your CRM data, which is just an Excel sheet of all of your names and email addresses. You upload that into Google Ads, Google AdWords, and then you serve ads to those people on Gmail, on Google Search, and then on YouTube. So those are the three boxes you see there on the right. Gmail ads, Google ads, and YouTube ads, all for your customers. My favorite use of this product is if you have new car purchasers, so you know everybody who purchased a vehicle from you in the last year but hasn't been back for service, you upload those email addresses, and then we go find them across the internet with a service special offer, a reminder message, anything customized to someone who you know purchased a vehicle from you but hasn't been back for service. Now, that's how you communicate with your own customers and your interactive customers, but what do you do when you need to find more customers? Well, the first is something called similar audiences for search. So this ties in with that remarketing list for search ads, and how this works is someone who visits your website is added to your remarketing list for search ads list. Pretty simple. They came to your site, they get added to a list. And now what happens next is someone who's visited your site searches on Google.com. Well, you already know who they are because you have them on your remarketing list. But someone who's not been to your site before, but is a Google.com user, and they're showing the same sort of search behaviors and online behaviors as your site visitor there on the left, we add those people to a similar audience list. So for example, in the zip code 90254, which is where I live, I've been to your website and I'm searching for you, and so you know who I am. But my next door neighbor has never been to your website, but is also doing the same searches that I'm doing. And you don't know about that person yet because they've never been to your site. Similar audiences for search is how you find them. So Google surfaces a list to you and says, here we go, here are some people in your target market who've never been to your website before, but are showing us that they're looking for a car right now. And you focus your investment and your bids on that pool of people, just adding them to your search campaign, and then you're finding more customers. Another, and my favorite way to find more customers, is using YouTube. So this falls into our prospects bucket, and what you're seeing here is the coverage of in-market audiences in March of this year by a bunch of the big players in the industry. So often we think that like the endemics are a must-buy, I've got to be there, that's where everybody's doing all of their research. In fact, YouTube reaches 92% of people who plan to buy a vehicle in the next 6 months, whereas you can see the numbers represented by all of those endemics. And again, this is from ComScore. This is not Google data. This is from ComScore, who provides user metrics across all websites in the U.S. And for U.S. mobile population, people who plan to buy a new vehicle in the next 6 months, YouTube reaches 92% of those people. There are two ad formats here, TrueView and bumper ads. TrueView is that beautiful skippable ad that you see and love and you skip, and that's okay. 80% of people skip the ads. And then bumper ads are the 6-second video ads that are so fast it's over before you can even think to skip, and you've left users wanting more. So on TrueView on the left, you only pay when someone watches your entire ad, and knowing that about 80% of them will skip it, it means you're saving 80% of that waste and only paying for the 20% of people who actually care about this new 2018 Ford F-150 that we have in the screenshot there. So in conclusion, this is a summary for you of Google's Audience Suite. The reason I'm sharing this with you and the reason I hope it's important to you today is that Google has transitioned, Google has progressed forward away from the keyword is the most important thing. And as you can see, we have so much data about our users, we have so much data on your customers, and it's not all about the exact keyword anymore. We can do much smarter search campaigns, knowing about who's behind the fingers doing the typing, what sort of customer is that, how interacted are they with you. So when you're looking for new prospects, there's a list of some Google tools to use: demographic targeting, detailed demographic, and affinity, which are both in beta. In-market and similar audiences, I spoke about both of those today. So that's how to find more prospects using Google search. Interactive users, those are people who have already been to your website, and you can reach them again. They've been to your website or your YouTube channel. You can reach them again even when they're not searching for you. So again, we would never suggest that you buy new tires. That's a very expensive search term. There's a high level of competition. We usually recommend that you stick to branded keywords. However, if you're buying new tires for someone who's been to your parts page in the last 30 days, well then yes, that starts to make sense. Now you have our full permission and approval to bid on new tires because that's someone who's been to your website. So I hope that's clear on RLSA. It opens up a ton of possibilities for you to interact with people, even when they're not searching for you specifically. And then finally, your customers. We have two really great ways to re-engage your customers, perhaps those you've lost touch with, and those are RLSA and, again, Customer Match, which is you upload the email address, and then we go find them on the internet for you and send them customized messaging. Finally, you can download the dealer guidebook. I will send this link through. I know it's a long URL there at the bottom. It's at our thinkwithgoogle.com site, which is just a site that gives you updated case studies, automotive trends, research, shopping. So thinkwithgoogle.com is a great place to go get the latest automotive news from Google, but I'll send that link to you so you can have your own downloadable version of the dealer guidebook. Dan, I'm in big trouble. It's 7:29. I ran over.
Kelly, thank you so much. That was outstanding information. Everybody, again, you'll receive a copy of this either by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. Again, Kelly, thanks so much for joining us. I know it's early out there. The AutoTalk Grand Slam will continue on Tuesday, July 17th, when Moss Adams will present tax reform, dealer and owner implications. As you know, there's new tax code out, and folks are still trying to figure out what the implications are on their dealerships. We'll be taking a deep dive on that on July the 17th at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On September the 18th, Federated Insurance will present dealership succession and estate planning. They'll look at maximizing wealth, minimizing estate taxes, and asset protection, as well as some other areas. Really excited, AIADA has launched an exciting new podcast series, Beltway Talk, examining the intersection of politics and the auto retail industry. Visit beltwaytalk.org to listen and subscribe to this series. We're really excited to be launching this. And please stay informed. If you're not receiving our daily or weekly publications, please feel free to do an outreach to me at barsond@aiada.org. If there was ever a time to be involved with the continued threats of a 25% tariff, and by the way, that's on all imported cars, trucks, and parts, now is the time to get involved. We have a very aggressive congressional outreach program where we'll assist you to invite your member of Congress to a visit of your store. please feel free, give us a call. If you want any information, call us at 1-800-GO-AIADA. Again, thank you very much. Great selling, and thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you in July.